is the camper mat. It folds down to this sort of size, which as you can see is quite bulky, so it's not really one to consider for backpacking, but it's absolutely fine if you're travelling by car and space and weight isn't a consideration. It fastens via these straps with good click-lock buckles and then unrolls into a nice camper mat. It's a combination of both traditional foam camper mat but airbed, whereas the camper mats at about 5mm thick can be quite thin and become uncomfortable. It also has the bonus of additional air as well to give additional buoyancy and comfort. So if you have an airbed with just the air in it, it tends to be very cold underneath and the foam gives insulation, but the foam on its own can be quite thin. So really you've got the best of both worlds with this. It also inflates automatically. Just undo the valves and you can actually hear the air being drawn into it. So it's now inflated, and if you look closely, I hope I can demonstrate, whereas it was 5mm thick before, it's now that thick, which is probably about an inch. It's also got that bit of buoyancy as well, giving additional comfort. So whereas it was just the foam earlier, it now has the foam plus the air as well, making for a much more comfortable night's sleep. The pillow end does have to be blown up manually via the conventional method. But it doesn't take too many puffs. So while I was blowing that up, you can see now that the buoyancy or loft on this section has now increased and the air is now travelling all the way along, so it's actually increased even further, so that now has become significantly thicker. Just turn it over. Again, you can see now that whereas this was completely flat with the dimples, it's now raised. So that gives quite a bit of padding, and there's the pillow as well. Going back to the old air beds, if you have just an airbed on its own and you lie there, because I've not put much air in, it's easy to demonstrate. So if you lie there, you can see it raises at the other end. And that can be quite an uncomfortable night's sleep, to say nothing of also being very cold when it's full of cool air underneath with no insulation beneath. So this mat really does have the best of both worlds, and even now it's still inflating in just a few minutes while I've been recording this video. But I'll leave the valve open for now so it can continue to draw in air and look at some of the other features. It has press studs along each side, so if you're camping as a couple, for example, or a group, you can fasten several mats together. The instructions supplied are not terribly helpful because they're wholly in Chinese, but it is fairly self-explanatory and you get the gist of it, of what it's trying to say. This has now reached maximum loft, so I'm closing the valve to keep the air in, and hopefully you can see that's now a good thickness, providing a good combination of buoyancy, loft and insulation. So I'm going to take it camping now. I'm having the first night on grass, then the second night in a bunkhouse where I'll have this as my sole bed mat. There are no mattresses, it's just sleeping on a sheet of ply. So that will certainly test how comfortable this is. And now to deflate, simply follow the same procedure in reverse. Undo the valve. To encourage the air out of the main mattress, start to roll it with the valve opened, and you can actually hear the air being forced out. Once it's fully deflated, close the valve or it will start to suck in air again and re-inflate. So just remember, close the valve after use. Then you can roll it up again and fasten it using these handy straps with the click lock buckles. It's actually very easy, but I'm a bit ham-fisted with my broken thumb. But anyone else will do it much easier than I am. But there we have it, ready for use again, and a carry bag is included.